This painting is 7 feet by 9 feet. I'm just now starting it. And this first color is a Venetian red. This is yellow ochre. It's got this neutral gray background. And it will be going to the exhibition I'm having in Venice, Italy, which will open with the Biennale next April. And this is like the anchor for the show. And the title of this is going to be Only Through Time, Time is Conquered. These are sort of the colors of Venice and the buildings. And then as these paintings go, it's a still point painting. So as this painting, as I continue to work on it, these lines will get thinner and thinner and thinner. So right now they're like I'll push them way into the background, these particular lines. And as it comes more towards the surface, really start playing with the colors of Venice and the colors that are reflected in the water. So it will be very much inspired by Venice, Italy, and just the history of it all. And the show, where I'm going to be exhibiting there, is called the Vovolo Museum. The building was built in, I think, 1450s, so it has its own history and these very organic colors and shapes. So I'm excited about it, needless to say. Okay, so this painting is titled Counting of Days, and because it has a number sequence here, 21768, so 21,768. This number down here, 21,768, is the number of days that I've been alive on the day that I finished this painting. So it's a counting of days, and these marks, it's very random. So you're making a mark and then making another mark and another mark and another mark, and they become these. They're not, people say, they're flowers. They're not flowers. They're nothing. They're not supposed to be anything except themselves. They're being informed by many, many things, but I don't really want them to be anything in particular. For me, it's so fascinating because to pull out early works, this is from 1982, and it's called Campfire. And at this time in my life, as a young person, not only was I thinking about the movement of the fire and the flames, but I was thinking about how it was affecting the air around it, and so that the invisible becomes a subject matter for me. And that's still permeating through all of my work. This is another still point painting called The Sound of the Voice Praying. In the still point series, I don't know if I've talked to you about this or not, but it's based on a poem by T.S. Eliot called Four Quartets. And in that poem, there's a passage where he says, neither coming nor going, neither flesh nor fleshless, at the still point of the turning world, there the dance lies, the only dance. And the poem goes on for quite a long bit. It's in 4 chapters. So what I've been doing is taking passages, and you'll see in my other studio there, I write them on the wall. And then I just kind of meditate on them for however long I need, and they become then the starting point for these paintings. And it's the titles that guide me to what colors I'm going to use, how big the paintings are going to be. So it's really like this visual conversation I'm having with this T.S. Eliot poem. And so this is a finished one here, and you can see there's some big brush strokes behind it, very similar to what this is here. So this gives you an idea of where this painting will end up with these very fine lines throughout this piece. This is my wine. Very proud of it. This is the first year. We picked it last August. I got some buddies of mine to help me pick. And we ended up making 175 bottles. Never made wine before, but luckily one of my friends, Troy, had played around with it a little bit, and this other friend, Wayne. The three of us, it's become our project here. And this was bottled on January 28, 2023. And we're experimenting with different yeasts and things like that, different flavors, trying to get a good recipe. But I mean, look how the color of that is really amazing. And it's actually, for a first year, it's quite drinkable. So this is going to be the summer barbecue wine. And we ended up with about 175 bottles. And next year, it's looking like probably 2,000 bottles, maybe even a little more. So we went from having a little hobby to a boutique winery. Who knew? Okay, this is the vineyard. And what I did, last time you were out here, I don't know if there was this fenced in or not, but it had been emu pens. We had these emus out here for a long time. And so it actually made for great fertilizer. But the ground was so hard, I had to flood it. And then I had a neighbor come and rip it for me, and then I dissed it on my tractor back and forth, and then we put in this watering system. And then I had the soil tested, and it has to be a certain pH and alkaline, and I was spot on, right where it was supposed to be. So we planted these things. I did research. There's a company up near Sacramento that has different varieties of grapes, and so I sent them the test results for the soil samples, and they gave me, and also the location here, so they gave me like 5 or 6 choices. And this is a Cabernet Sauvignon, and the root stock is from the south of France, and it's about 300 years old. And then it's been grafted to be drought resistant and bug resistant. So it's a really hardy grape, but it has a nice flavor and a real deep purple coloring to it. And the grapes they're small, but they're really potent. And that noise right there, that is it's a gopher thing, and it's a sonic sound or whatever to keep the gophers away, because these gophers, especially when these were young, man, they were just eating the roots, and I had to replace a few of them. So that's my little way of keeping the gophers out. Not sure if it works or not. Okay, see this right here? These are all going to be grapes, and they're going to be hanging down like this. And the reason why we did this double trellis is because these leaves will hang over, and it will provide shade for the grapes so they don't get burned when it gets really hot. But this is an amazing number of grapes. We're going to have to thin these out. We have too many. But in order to keep the quality of the taste that we want for a nice, really nice wine, we're going to have to thin this out. But we'll be picking these in probably the end of August. In July, beginning of July, we'll start doing sugar testing. And every week we come out and pick a few, and then you test the sugar. It's called a brick, and it needs to get up to about 22. Last year we started in July, and we were at 14, and then every week we tested until we got to 22, and then we had to pick. Fast and furious. So these I got 10 of these trees right here. It's I think it's called Akina olives, and they're a little bit bigger and pretty mellow taste. So you can see all these little guys. These are all going to be olives. We're going to have a lot of picking to do. Last year we picked them in October. And then I've got 20 more over there, and that's a different kind, and they're a Greek olive called Konakira, and they're small and real spicy, and it's only for olive oil. So these two combined makes a really flavorful oil.